Now he wants 50-50 time with them? Well, hell, he could have had 50-50 time with us the whole time we lived here.
The massive wooden doors of the courtroom opened with a long, heavy creak, and for a moment the entire chamber froze in silence. You could have heard a pin drop. The tension was alive in the air, sharp enough to slice through. It's charged with anticipation of something historic about to unfold. For years, the world had watched the Browns unravel on television. The drama of sister wives had played out in living rooms across America, but never like this. Today was not another confession on camera, nor a stage sit-down in a living room. Today, it was a trial, and it was no longer about Kody being in the line of fire. The spotlight now shifted to the women who had carried silent battles for years, Meri and Robyn. The benches at the back of the courtroom were crammed with reporters. Fingers hovered over keyboards, pens clicked nervously, and cameras were already trained on the front. Outside, the protesters chanted, waving homemade banners that screamed divided loyalties. Justice for Meri, and Robyn is innocent. The public was split long before the trial even began. Meri entered first. She wore muted colors, her movements steady and deliberate. Her face revealed no fear, only resolve. Her jaw was tight, her shoulders straight, and her eyes sparkled with a determination that had been decades in the making. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they caught sight of the woman who had once been Kody's only wife, the one who had built the family's foundation before anyone else arrived. Moments later, Robyn appeared. Her entrance was slower, her composure carefully crafted. She wore a tailored suit that balanced professionalism with humility, but her hands betrayed her. They shook ever so slightly as she clutched her papers. Her eyes were rimmed red, as though she had fought tears before crossing the threshold. She sat down, but when her gaze met Meri's, the air between them turned electric. No words were spoken, yet the past screamed louder than any tirade. The judge cleared his throat, his voice echoing through the chamber. Today, this court will hear the case of Meri Brown versus Robyn Brown. Allegations of manipulation, favoritism, neglect, and betrayal will be adjudicated. A collective gasp swept through the gallery. These weren't ordinary legal charges. They were the vocabulary of heartbreak, jealousy, and fractured trust. Yet here they were, spoken in the solemn setting of a courtroom. Meri rose to speak. She moved to the podium with a grace sharpened by pain, her voice steady but heavy with years of unspoken wounds. "I was there at the beginning," she began, her tone slicing through the silence. "I was Kody's first wife. I built this family with him, laid the foundation, raised children, shared dreams. But the moment Robyn came along, everything changed. I became invisible in my own home. I was erased from the very family I fought to create." Her voice strengthened as she continued, decades of bottled-up anguish spilling into the open. Robyn wasn't just another wife. She was Kody's priority, his partner, his everything. And the rest of us, especially me, were left behind. That's not just unfair. That's betrayal. Robyn didn't join this family. She tore it apart. Gasps echoed across the gallery. Cameras flashed like lightning, capturing the moment for history. Meri's words rang raw, final, undeniable. She took her seat again, her chin raised. The courtroom shifted as Robyn stood slowly, each movement deliberate, her composure fraying at the edges. Her voice trembled at first, then hardened with conviction. "I am not the villain," she declared. "I didn't come into this family to destroy it. I fell in love with Kody. That's all. And for that, I have been punished every day since. Punished by Meri, punished by fans, punished by people who never wanted to know the truth." The gallery erupted, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads. The live stream chat projected onto the courtroom screen buzzed furiously. Finally, Robyn is fighting back. Meri told the truth. Robyn is playing the victim. Her words grew sharper, edged with years of suppressed fury. "Meri says I stole her husband. But the truth is, she was already losing him before I arrived. She was bitter, cold, distant. She pushed him away. I didn't steal him, I loved him, and suddenly I became her scapegoat." She turned, pointing directly at Meri, her finger quivering. You call me manipulative, but the truth is you wanted control. And when you couldn't have it, when Kody finally found happiness with me, you made me your target. The audience roared in whispers and mutters until the judge slammed his gavel. Order. But order was impossible. The emotions were too raw. Mary leaned forward, her voice sharp as glass. You think this is about control? This is about loyalty. You knew what would happen when you entered this family. You knew Kody would abandon us for you and you encouraged it. Enough, the judge interrupted sternly. Mrs. Brown, you will have your turn. Robin's cheeks flushed crimson. Her voice quavered as she pressed forward. I never asked to be his favorite. Do you think it's easy to be blamed, hated, attacked by fans and by my own sister wives just because I loved my husband? That's not manipulation. That's love. And it's the only thing I've ever been guilty of. Her words hung heavy in the air, daring the audience to decide whether they rang true or hollow. Mary muttered under her breath, just loud enough for microphones to catch. You call that love? I call it betrayal. The gallery gasped again. Reporters scribbled frantically, and the judge's gavel thundered for silence. But the storm had already broken loose. The bailiff entered with a thick stack of documents, slamming them on the table. Mary's lawyer seized them with fervor. Your Honor, we present evidence of favoritism, financial records, messages, decisions that show the family's resources were funneled disproportionately toward Robin, her rent, her vacations, her shopping, all paid while the others were left with scraps. And who orchestrated it? Robin herself. The courtroom buzzed louder. Fans craned their necks, desperate to glimpse the truth on those pages. And then the heavy doors creaked open once more. Every head turned. Kody Brown walked in. He looked nothing like the man once beaming on television with his 4 wives by his side. His steps were stiff, his face unreadable, his shoulders burdened by decades of decisions catching up to him. He sat at the defendant's table, tugging at his collar, trying to maintain control. Robin leaned close, whispering something in his ear, her hand clutching his arm. She searched his face for strength, but found none. Across the aisle, Christine and Janelle sat side by side. Their faces were masks of resolve, their jaws clenched, their eyes locked on Kody with unwavering focus. They weren't here for reconciliation. They were here for truth. Mary was absent, her silence as deafening as her presence had once been. She had chosen not to be there. And in that absence was a final act of defiance. She would no longer give Kody the satisfaction of her fight. The judge entered once more, his gavel striking like thunder. This court is now in session. Today is not about property or contracts. It is about accountability. It is about truth. It is about whether one man and the choices he made can be held responsible for the fall of the very empire he built on promises of equality and faith. The crowd held its breath. Every gesture, every glance, every word was history in the making. Cameras recorded. Fans whispered. The nation watched. Who would crumble first? Who would reveal secrets never meant for the public eye? Who would emerge not victorious in law, but in dignity? This was not just a trial. It was the final sister wives confrontation, a battle of betrayal, loyalty, and fractured love. And it had only just begun. Fractured love. And it had only just begun.
We're not going to have this conversation.
I always felt like your life centered so much about Robin's house.
Don't go down that road. We're trying to heal things. More destruction.
The silence in the courtroom was the kind that could split a person open. Heavy and suffocating, almost alive in its tension. The air carried the weight of years of secrets, betrayals, and whispered suspicions, all pressing down on every soul in the room as if the very walls had absorbed the bitterness of the family's unraveling. Outside, the world was watching, millions of viewers glued to live streams. Social media feeds buzzing with anticipation. Headlines being drafted in real time as one of television's most infamous families prepared to air their darkest truths. Not in the safety of a confessional camera, but under oath in a court of law. This was no longer a story edited for entertainment. This was survival. This was judgment. This was the end of the illusion. Robin Brown sat stiffly at the defense table, her eyes darting nervously toward Kody, the man she had once defended at all costs, and then to the stern figure of Judge Harwood at the bench. Her loyalty had always been her defining trait, her shield and her weapon. But now it felt like a chain. The cameras weren't here, but the public was. Every second, every sigh, every tremble of her hand was being dissected by fans, critics, and gossip-hungry spectators around the globe. Her allegiance was being questioned, her silence interpreted as complicity. And her tears, when they came, were no longer seen as sympathy, but as the cracks of guilt surfacing. "All rise," the bailiff commanded, his voice sharp as a blade slicing through the tension. The entire room stood, benches scraping loudly against the floor, echoing in dissonant rhythm. Judge Harwood entered, her black robe flowing like a shadow, her gaze colder than iron, her every step deliberate. She was no stranger to high-profile cases, but even she felt the static of electricity in the air. This wasn't just another family dispute. This was an empire built on faith, sacrifice, and spectacle collapsing under its own hypocrisy. She sat down, picked up her gavel, and with a strike that seemed to rattle the very bones of those present, declared, "This court is now in session." From the side door, Kody Brown entered. Gone was the self-assured patriarch America had seen for more than a decade on their television screens. His golden curls, once bouncy and arrogant, now clung damply to his forehead. His trademark swagger had shriveled into hesitant, stiff steps. The man who had once strutted as the head of a sprawling, unconventional dynasty now looked like a soldier walking to his own execution. He glanced toward Christine, Janelle, and Mary, seated together in quiet unity, and his jaw tightened. He tried to summon the smirk, the bravado, the charm that had once convinced 4 women to follow him into spiritual marriage. But nothing came. His body betrayed him. His shoulders sagged, his eyes darted, his confidence was gone. Christine Brown was the first to rise. She stood with a grace that belied the storm inside her. Her blonde hair fell like a banner of defiance, her folder of evidence clutched so tightly that her knuckles blanched white. For years, she had been cast as the smiling, nurturing glue of the family. The wife who laughed through the chaos, who smoothed over conflict, who swallowed her own pain to keep the picture-perfect image alive. But that Christine was gone. The woman walking to the witness stand was forged in betrayal, tempered by neglect, and sharpened by truth. She raised her hand, swore her oath, and sat. The silence was thick, broken only by the clicking of pens from reporters and the faint hum of camera shutters. The judge gave her a nod. "You may proceed." Christine took a breath that seemed to draw in the weight of decades. "For over 25 years," she began, her voice trembling at first, "I attempted to be the wife that Kody desired me to be. I gave him children. I cooked meals. I sacrificed my sense of self. I supported him in every ambition. And I tolerated sharing him with 3 other women because I believed that what we were building was a family, something worth the pain, worth the sacrifice." Her voice grew steadier, louder, resonant. "But along the way, I ceased being a partner and was reduced to an afterthought." Gasps fluttered through the gallery. Reporters scribbled furiously, their headlines already writing themselves. Christine's words were not gossip. They were revelations. She painted pictures of empty nights spent alone, of family gatherings where her opinions were silenced, of a husband who preached equality but practiced favoritism. "He promised us balance, but what we got was neglect," she declared, her tone slicing the air. "And when I finally had the courage to leave, he accused me of betrayal. But tell me, how can you betray someone who abandoned you long before you ever walked away?" The gallery erupted in murmurs. Online, the live chat exploded. "Christine is a queen. She's finally speaking her truth. Team Christine forever." Kody shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his jaw working furiously, his face red with rage. Robin leaned in, whispering urgently, but he waved her off, eyes fixed on Christine like daggers that had lost their edge. She was calm, resolute, unshaken. And when she finished, when she stepped down from the stand, she didn't even glance his way. She didn't need to. She had already stripped him bare in front of the world. The judge's gavel echoed. Next witness, Janelle Brown. Janelle rose with quiet strength, smoothing her jacket with steady hands. Where Christine had brought fire, Janelle brought stone. She was not the loud one, not the rebel, not the favorite. She was the engine that had kept the family's dream running. The provider who worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs. The woman who sacrificed her own time and freedom to fund a vision that was never truly hers. She took her oath, adjusted the microphone, and spoke in calm, measured tones. "I was the one who kept the wheels turning," she said simply, letting the words hang in the air. "I gave, I worked, I sacrificed, and when it was my turn to ask for support, I was left with nothing." She spoke of bills paid, investments made, sacrifices endured. She spoke of Kody's absence during the pandemic, of his rules that cut children off from their father, of her attempts to advocate for her sons only to be told she was disloyal. "Imagine," she said, her voice like a blade wrapped in silk, "being told that standing up for your children makes you a traitor." Gasps again. Pens scratching. Live chat flooding with indignation. Janelle is a queen. She gave him everything. Kody never deserved her. Her words about money cut deeper still. "I invested in property, in land, in dreams that were supposed to be ours. But when I asked questions, when I sought transparency, I was dismissed. I wasn't treated as a partner. I was treated like a bank account, useful when needed, silent otherwise." Kody couldn't hold back this time. He slammed his fist against the table, his voice shaking with fury. "That's not true," he barked. The judge's gavel thundered. Order in the court. But the damage was done. His outburst only highlighted the contrast. His rage against Janelle's calm, his bluster against her truth. She stepped down, her head high, her shoulders squared, her eyes forward. As she passed him, she didn't spare him a glance. She didn't need to. Like Christine, she had already won. The courtroom hummed with energy, the balance of power shifting before everyone's eyes. Christine had brought passion, Janelle had brought steel. Together, they had shattered the illusion. And now all eyes turned to the man at the center of it all. "Mr. Brown," Judge Harwood said, her voice firm, "you may take the stand." Kody rose, his movements sharp, jerky, almost defiant. He straightened his jacket, forced his chin high, and stalked to the witness stand as if marching to a battlefield. He raised his hand, swore his oath, and gripped the microphone like it was a weapon. His voice boomed through the courtroom, loud, defensive, desperate. "I built this family," he thundered, pounding his hand on the armrest. "I bore the burden. I worked day and night to put food on the table, to provide for them, to give them the life they wanted. And now they sit here acting like I'm the villain, like I'm some kind of monster. No, I am the reason they had a family at all." The gallery buzzed with shock. Online comments flew like wildfire. "Classic Kody, he's gaslighting again. He just doesn't get it." He pointed toward Christine and Janelle, his face flushed with rage. "They turned their backs on me. They stopped being faithful wives. They wanted everything their way, and when I didn't give it, they made me the problem." His voice cracked with fury, his rhetoric spiraling. "Loyalty means staying when it's hard. Loyalty means sacrifice. Robin knows that. She has never betrayed me. She has stood by me when everyone else abandoned me." Robin's face crumpled. Tears welled, spilling despite her attempts to hold them back. The gallery shifted uncomfortably, the cameras catching every twitch, every tremor. To some, she looked like the last loyal wife.